And those people, Jordan, Dalton, Kay, Lucas, all these people have been there for me through thick and thin. No matter what, they've always treated me as legitimate. And so I sent that message out and I was like, I fucking love you guys. Thank you so much. Right? It was just a thank you, a big fucking thank you. Because it's true. Without those people, I would not be here. It's not to say I'm the most successful. There's room for improvement, of course. But I just want those people to know that they are real to me. Should I say that? Talking about that police story? Because I was actually thinking about that today a lot.
Go for it.
Yeah, so earlier today, I was meditating out getting sun during my lunch break, as I normally do. Yes. And I was just walking over, like usually the spot that I go to, no one is ever at. That's why I love it. So privacy, it has a nice nature spot, nice stream right beside it. I love it. People are like, why are you meditating next to a garage? Yeah, I know it's weird, but it works for me, so whatever.
Eat dicks.
I have no complaints. Said eat dicks. But anyway, so I was walking over there and I noticed like another individual walking the other way, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, no one's ever here. So like there's like two sets of benches. So like I sat on the second set of bench and they sat on the other one. So I was like, all right, whatever, just chilling. Just, rolled up the sleeves, just like was getting ready for that vitamin D. And I was like, probably like set my timer for like 12 minutes because I had to get back before 1, back to Rudd's Life. And then I'm just like sitting there, and I just think that girl is still behind me, and then I just hear this screaming. And I'm like, and the way I'm facing was in front of her, right? So my back was facing her, but then there was this like kind of little bridge that leads into the garage. And there's this guy screaming at this girl at the top of his lungs, like about to lose his mind, saying, why would you do this? I can't believe you. And the girl's like on the phone, like I can't even hear her. They're like probably like a half a football field away from me, maybe a little bit less. And he was just, you could see the tension in his eyes, and he was just like, let me do it, let me see it. And like the girl's still on the phone. I have no idea what was going on. And so pretty much I was like just kind of keeping an eye on it while like it was still going on. So I like just kind of like peeing back, but I was like, so probably like 30 or 40 seconds later, I looked back over and I was like watching because the guy was getting more intense, and he just kept saying, he's like, you always do this. Like, why do you like, just X, Y, and Z, name it. And he runs over to her, and from my angle, it looks like he fucking clocks the girl. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, no one else just saw this. And then the guy like continues to like freak out and then just storms off. And then I kind of just like sitting there, and the girl just kind of like picks up her phone or whatever, and then just kind of walks away too. So I'm like, oh my God, a dude just hit a freaking girl in front of me. I'm the only one that saw it, right? And so I was like, for a minute, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I was like, all right, I call campus police, and like, I tell campus police about it, whatever. They look at the footage. It turned out that the guy was most likely just hitting the girl's phone out of the girl's hand. But from my angle, it was like a tough hit, push, like whatever. Like it looked fucking serious. I was like, oh my God, like fucking, I don't even know. Like she just shrugged it off like nothing. And I guess according to the police, she just like also like then followed him afterwards. And I was like, okay, cool. But anyways, like with that, like the reason why I told that story, one, I've never seen something like that. And two, interesting things happen while you meditate. Like one time I was just sitting there and a squirrel just hopped up next to me. Cool stuff, So,
moral of the story, go meditate. So you can watch,
go meditate. This is why you should meditate. So not for the internal benefits and the health benefits, but because you could see crazy shit.
And you can firsthand witness abusive relationships.
Come on now. But the reason why I was doing that, and then I was on my way here, and I noticed like another person like that I know, not like best friends with, but like they were just walking with their head down on the phone, and they were just like pissed off, like once again, not to the same degree that that guy was earlier, but was just like saying things on the phone, explaining things. I was like, oh my God, like, and then I always think about this because when someone asks me, like, they come to me with their issues, when they come to me with the different kind of problems in their life, right? Like, of course, that external situation that they're going through is a problem. It's an issue, right? And there's an external solution to that problem that would probably make them feel better, right? But for me to tell them that there's a deeper issue at hand, meaning the way that they're interpreting the way that they're placing their attention on the issue that's making it way more of an issue than it actually is. I don't feel comfortable saying that to them because they're not aware of that kind of, they're not able to take that level of accountability. And for me to say, take your attention off your thoughts, stop identifying with your thoughts. Obviously, the situation you're going through is tough. No doubt about it. It's a negative situation.
Right.
But the true fix, I guess you could say the more spiritual fix, the more internal fix that will make this situation way easier for you is to stop interpreting that way, to stop engulfing yourself in the emotion and to take a step back. Because I was like, when I saw that guy on the side of the road, fucking mouthing off his girlfriend, like just literally about to physically assault his girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, like that guy's in it. Like it's impossible for him to gain that bird's eye perspective. Yeah. And I sat there and I was like, wow, I am grateful to not be in that spot.
Yeah.
Because most likely there's other things going on in that relationship that are causing a lot of issues. And so I just think, you know, there's a big gap there. And I think there's a much, much deeper issue at hand that a lot of people don't even realize.
There always is. I mean, like, that's the number one thing that, you know, at least that I've realized over my past couple of years of trying to make my life better is I stopped trying to help other people make their lives better because it's counterproductive to me and to them.
Yeah.
Like people, like the number one thing I realize is that most people don't actually want to change. And it's the hardest thing to accept because oftentimes those people are your mom or your dad or your siblings or your cousins or the people you love deeply and want to help change. But they don't want the help to change. They don't want to change. So what can you do in that situation? Nothing. Literally nothing. The best thing you can do at that point in time to influence that individual is to make your own life better and to serve as an example 100%. From a distance, quietly, working on yourself in peace, in solitude, and removing yourself from their life as a way of showing them that the way that they are acting is not okay with you. And your standard for yourself and your life is much higher than the way that they're living their own. And it's not that you think that they're better, you're better, who or whatever, but it's a matter of I am not going to allow this energy to taint my own life, period. And so whether that's your best friend or whether that's your mom or whoever, taking a step back, again, I talk about this all the time. I'm not a proponent of cutting people off, but I think taking a step back and really allowing yourself to have that distance is the best thing that you can do. Because oftentimes, like, you sit there and you're like, what are you going to do?
You know, that reminds me of an interesting point. I think I can lead into like a segue of like a kind of like a bigger thing is, because I agree. Like, I'm not a fan of cutting people off, but like a lot of times, like when you start to work on yourself, like your interests start to change, your preferences start to change. And Alex Ramosi says this all the time, right?
Yeah.
He says, you know, like a lot of people, like when an individual changes, right, and their old friend group comes to them and like be like, you've changed, like, and then the person that's changed is like, yeah, I've changed, you haven't, and I think that kind of circumstance for a lot of people is definitely tough because they think, and I think this is very interesting, and I think Alex Ramosi's kind of transactional definition of a friendship makes a lot of sense to me, and I think I take a lot of things from that. I don't necessarily agree with everything because I don't want it to be so robotic, but I think a lot of times people feel the obligation that they have to stay with these people in order to ensure the status of their relationship. In order for me to be your friend, I have to hang out with you X amount of days a week, right? Like, so for instance, my buddy and I, Dalton, right? Like, I love him to death, right? But we don't hang out often, right? Like, that's just, and that's not to say that we're like, we don't like each other. It just means our preferences are different. Our interests are different, right? And that's not a bad thing. Like, we're still going to hang out. We're still going to have time. But I think more generally speaking, both like when your preferences start to change, when your interests start to change, I think it's really important for your friend circle and the people around you. And we've talked about this, I think, on the past couple episodes, that we're very lucky to have that in our life because people get it, right? Like it's not personal. It's just the way things are, right? And it's just how we occupy our time. But I think like, once you start to work on yourself and once you start to realize that the people that you are hanging out with may not be the best for you, you'll start to naturally evolve out of that because your interests start to change. And what you find enjoyable is not what they find enjoyable, right? And so a lot of times people are going to look at you and be like, oh, you've changed. And like, you'd be like, yeah, I have changed, right? For the better, right? And, but also too, those people that you do bring along with, like say Alex, Dolan, my buddy Jordan, Matt, right? Like the people that stay with you are mature enough and are conscious enough to understand that yes, you have different interests, but they're not going to take it personally because of the path that you're on.
Right. And if they do take it personally, they can go fucking kick rocks, like whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've had those friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
That take it personally.
Yeah.
And they're not my friends anymore.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's like, it was funny, like when you were talking about the guy that was abusing his girlfriend, this was the breaking point for me. I firsthand witnessed one of my old friends. We were at this party, and I don't give away too many details because I just don't want to, get anybody involved. We're at this party, and it was at this person's house, and he was in a big fight with his girlfriend in front of everyone. It was a big fucking scene. There was like 30 of us there, and we're all just like, what the hell? It was like really fucking awkward. And he was like, come here, and he like yelled at her to go in the room, and she like slowly started walking in. He grabbed her by her arm, and he just threw her on the bed, and he slammed the door. And like, that was the breaking point for me. Shouldn't have been. There should have been like, there were plenty of signs that this kid was not a good person to be hanging around. But that was like oh fuck. Like, you're a piece of shit. Period. Like, you treat human beings that way. There's no joke there. There's no like, oh, I just don't understand, or I just get really angry sometimes. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That's your problem. I get you have issues. I get you have your own shit that you're dealing with. And I get that I don't even understand them. But what I'm witnessing with my two eyes is enough for me to understand that I cannot be hanging around and condoning that behavior. I'm willing to violate our friendship and end it as a result of the way that you're treating somebody else. And I call a wrath for that. You're not gonna talk to me anymore because of the way that I treat some fucking bitch. Like, you think that. I'm like, you don't get it, dude. You just don't get it. And that's fine. But like, fast forward 5-6 years, I'm not even gonna like out where he's at in his life, but there are plenty of signals that we were not gonna end up being friends anyways, whether that was the breaking point or not. Gotcha. We would have parted ways. Period. And it's like, to me, it's a matter of like, like, who do you really want to be friends with? And not for nothing, one of the biggest things, and I talked about this with my friends all the time, because he was really, he was only friends with us when it was, easy for him to be friends with us. The second there was an instance where he decided, he just stopped hanging out with us, really stopped talking to us, because there was like a more cool group of kids that he started hanging around, and they were like, we don't really like this kid, and then they kind of kicked him to the curb. But there was like a 2-month period where he just stopped hanging out with us because he found someone that raised his status more, and he stopped fucking with me and Alex. And like, we were just sitting there like, got it, understood. That's how it is. We were just convenient. And so it was like, looking back in hindsight, like, there were so many signs to not be friends with him. But like, if someone's just gonna be friends with you when it's fucking convenient, they're not your real friend. Yeah. They're not. Yeah. Because if they're just friends with you out of convenience, and they would leave you for somebody better at the drop of a hat, they're not your fucking friend. If they're not going to be your friend when you're going through a shit time, they're not your fucking friend. Yeah. They're not. And that's why I'm so caught up in this whole, like, I'm getting uber conscious of who I'm giving my time and my energy to now, because, and you're going to deal with this too, like, we're on this path together, like, eventually people are going to start fucking sucking dick to, like, oh, like, CJ Media, like, doing pretty well now, huh? Like, guys doing, and because that's what happens, like, we're not at that point yet at all. No.
But it's starting to pick up,
right?
And that, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I'll say, yeah.
And that is what, like, this past weekend, like, I mean, remember I sent you that screenshot? I sent a whole bunch of people this screenshot because I was like, yes, like, I was like, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sorry. Exactly what you were saying. How friends have to be with you through thick and thin, right? And I think this past weekend showed me that so much, right? And it's not to say like there's people out there like my fucking haters, right? Like no.
Right.
This past weekend we shot for Central Football, right? And it was local, like I mean, on campus here at CCSU. Like this is where I started pretty much my videography career, right? So a lot of people know I do that. A lot of people know about CJ Media. A lot of people know about our business and what we're doing. And you know, to be fair, like we started something, so it takes time for them to see it as legitimate, right? But that doesn't mean they're going to treat it as legitimate.
Right.
And so this past weekend, when I edited that video and I stayed up, pretty late editing the hype reel that went out the next morning, and I was sitting on my toilet and I was like looking at the video and I was like, oh my God, I made this, right? And it just hit me. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, dude. Like what we have here is special, right? And I felt this like the whole entire day. Maybe it was like, a little bit of ego, a little bit of like stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, I sat down and I forget what happened. My buddy Dalton texted me like out of nowhere. Like I'm not trying to like say like, oh, hey dude, check out my fucking reel. Let me know how good. Like, no, I'm never like that. Right. But he sent me a text message. He was, I'll actually read it. He said, yeah, but he was just like, bro, your edits are so fire. And I was like, and I was just like, it's like, dude, you're literally filtering Central money through Central and stuff like that. Like I'm stealing money. And then he was just like, and then I said to him, I was so grateful. And then, this is what I said back to him. And this is the message that I sent to everyone. Like, and I was just like, it's like, you deserve it, bro. Your content creates such a unique vibe that I'm glad Central, the school we're shooting for, can capitalize on. Next thing you know, you're moving up, bro. Like just shit like that. And I was like, and then I said, and this is why I fucking love you, bro. Yeah. I was like, this means a lot for real. You and Jordy have always believed in me and had my back, bro. I'm truly grateful for that and literally would not be able to be where I am with you awesome fuckers. I love you, man. It's so crazy since that reel has been posted. So many people are just kind of recognizing that I do this as a legit thing. I never thought I would experience this kind of switch up mentality, but it really does show who has been with you since the start. Right. And I mean, just for like a little bit of backstory, I mean, Jordan, Dalton, and I would go out to our local elementary school and film entertainment videos on this channel. Yeah. 3-4 years ago. And that's where I started. Yes, it was stupid. Yes, it was dumb. Yes, it was awesome. And I had a great time doing it. Yeah. And I wouldn't suggest you go and watch it now because you'd probably think of me a lot differently. But trust me, I've changed. But that's where I started. And every single week, I'd be like, hey, boys, we're going out. And they would always be down. They'd always be down to make content, no matter what. And they saw my growth. Dalton started that TikTok for me. And he made this video. And he's like, I've seen Cal. He's been grinding. He's been working his ass off. He's like, I want him to succeed. And same thing with Jordan. Every single week, day in, day out, we would do this. And this is where I started. This is where I would not be here without those people in my life. 100%. And so when I started that process, Jordan, Dalton, all the other people that were in that kind of group that got me up to this point, along with the self-growth was still there in that channel, and I stopped doing entertainment as much, and then you came into the picture, and then we started to do the podcast. We came here, right? Whole bunch of different things. I went to Rec, met Delia, met Kay, met Joe, met all these different type of people that were giving me constant support throughout the years, and these people always, whether it be the smaller things, whether it be the bigger thing that they've said to me when I've talked to them about videography, when I've talked to them about content creation, when I've talked to them about my life, they've always fucking been there, right? And that is why I sent that message to them, right? Because like I say at the end of there, it shows you who has been with you through thick and thin. And those people, Jordan, Dalton, Kay, Lucas, all these people have been there for me through thick and thin. When I say thick and thin, not me like crying, like, well, my videography career is not working out, but like they've, no matter what, they've always treated me as legitimate, right? And so on that basis, I sent that message out and I was like, I fucking love you guys. Thank you so much, right? It was just a thank you, a big fucking thank you, because it's true. Without those people, I would not be here. Right? It's not to say I'm the most successful. It's not to say there's room for improvement, of course, but I just want those people to know that they are real to me. and I'm gonna be as real as I can to them in whatever endeavor they're going into.
That's it, bro. It's really that simple. I mean, we talked about that obsessively a couple episodes ago, but like, like that, it's weird now because we're in this middle stage where like we don't have the business on the NASDAQ, but we're in this spot where like people are like, maybe it's not. This is kind of like maybe CJ Media is going to be the first business that they've seen like kind of crack what they thought is practical. Because think about how many people that started a clothing brand or some 100%. Drop shipping company or car washing business or something like that. And it's not to shit on them because it's fucking difficult. No, like, I get it.
Yeah, we're very lucky with it.
But we're slowly cracking that belief system.
Yeah.
From like firsthand from myself. Like that's like one of the first, like it's one of the biggest things that I'm cracking currently is like trying to just outwork myself down.
Yeah.
But having those people around, like when you said Lucas, I'm like, yes. Yes.
Mario, dude. Fuck, I can't. Mario, dude. Yeah.
Literally, like, I'm like, dude, like, Lucas is, I remember, I will never forget this conversation when we were sitting there eating at the dining hall and we were just talking about videography and I was just telling him, and this was like when we were like first starting to do it, like very first. And I don't know what he said directly. I just remember how I felt. And he basically said something along the lines of like, yeah, man. He's like, fucking, when you're fucking rich as fuck, let me know. Like, he's like, don't forget about me, homie. Don't forget. He was joking. Like, he wasn't saying it like egotistically, like, hook me up, like, give me money or whatever. It was just like, but the way he said it, I was like, fuck, man. Like, you believe in me. I'm like, that's crazy. Cause like, I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm an imposter. This is not going to happen. Why is it going to be me? Why is it going to be me? And then I have a conversation with somebody else and Lucas is sitting there. He's like, yeah, dude, like, don't forget about me when you're successful. And he's not saying it as a joke. Like he's like, he means it. And I'm like, holy fuck. Yeah, like those are the people you're never going to forget. And it actually has me thinking about something. It's a little bit of a tangent, but this happened the other day. I forgot to post content. I literally, are we good? Let's check the time. We literally, I just forgot to post my content for the day. And I was, it does. It happens sometimes. And I was just like, and I sat there and I woke up and I was like, oh shit, I didn't post. And I was like, okay. And then I sat there and I don't know how the thought process came up, but I was like, it was a culmination of a couple things. One was like, it's kind of a little bit of self-defeating thought process, but I was like, who am I to really like talk about the shit that I'm talking about anyways? And I realized that I think one of the big reasons why I've been kind of growing a little distaste for my own content is that I feel like a lot of the things that I've been saying is like, or more so the way I've been saying it is it's too preachy. It's too like, you should do this with your life. You should live this way because you'll get these results, rather than saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, and purely just documenting my own life, the way that I'm handling the business, the way that I'm handling my personal life, the way I'm handling my relationships. Like, instead of doing that, I feel like I've been more so just like, if you do this and you do this and you do this, you'll get these results and you have this quality of life. When in reality, I don't fucking know shit about dick. Like, I just don't, And so I've been sitting here and I'm like, I'm looking at my content. I'm like, I don't like it. I just don't like it anymore. Like, there's just something about it where I'm just like, and it hit me because I was like, I didn't post, but there was like some part of me that I was like, kind of took a deep breath because of it. And I just feel like, I don't know, like, not that I think I'm full of shit and not that I'm being ingenuine. I just think I'm learning more about the process. Yeah. And I think that I'm going to really try my best to start saying like, this is what I do, take it for what it's worth, rather than saying you need to do this. B, just document everything that I'm doing rather than saying like giving advice, quote unquote. But also it's really just humbling. Like it's the best way to put it. It's like, this past couple like months have been fucking rough. Like, they've been rough. And I've been humbled severely. Like, severely. Yeah. And so I'm sitting in this spot where when I talk to other people, I'm not so quick to judge anymore. I'm not so quick to be like, oh no, I get that you're going through something hard, but just go to the gym. Just do the work that you know you should be doing. Because I'm going through it. And now I'm like, oh fuck. Like, oh, like there's actually plenty of days where I sit there and I don't do anything because I'm sitting there and I feel like I can't get off my fucking bed because I'm that upset. And that's me. Mr. Life Coach Jason Sklar, the Jason Sklar Show. Check me out. Look at my Instagram. He's got the quotes and everything with high camera quality on the podcast. Like me, like the person that I thought I needed to be like the guy that everyone could look at and be like, you know what? Like he has his shit together. It's happening to me. And I have this need to feel like I need to present myself and live the way that everyone can look up to and be the noble character. Yeah. David Goggins talks about it. There's plenty of times where he wakes up in the morning and he doesn't want to fucking put his shoes on, but he does it anyways because he's fucking David Goggins and people are sending him emails saying like, you motivate me, you change my life, you inspire me to be a better human being, whatever. And like, so he, like, that's a big motivating factor for him. It's on a much, much, much smaller scale. That's what it feels for me because I'm broadcasting my life, my views, my philosophies, whatever on social media. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, fuck, I've never had anything like this before. When my parents split up, when what I thought my whole world shattered, when that was the pivotal moment in my life, I wasn't even a third as fucked up as I am now. Like, not even close. And I'm like, well, now what? So quick to judge when everything's going fucking peachy. But now that shit's like difficult as fuck, like really difficult. Now it's like, maybe, just maybe, I've been a little too hard on people. Maybe I've assumed that people can take on more than they can actually take on. Maybe I've been sitting here saying, like, you can just fucking, if you just do this and this and this and start small, you can build habits. It's like, yeah, maybe. Maybe if you grew up in Connecticut with a upper middle class family and didn't have to worry about getting your food on the table and didn't have abusive relationships and didn't have a dad that fucking beat you every day and didn't have fucking relationships that were toxic as fuck that everyone looks at and says you could just break up with him or just break up with her or whatever. Like, and still my problems are minute compared to everybody else's. Yep. And it's like the fucking dissonance just goes and goes and goes. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm fucked up about this. I broke up with Rachel, and I'm fucked up about it. Like, what the hell? And it was only a 3-year relationship, and it wasn't abusive. And I don't say that to devalue my own problems, because, like, I get it, like, you know, like, because that's the number one thing people always say, like, whenever I talk about it, I'm like, listen, like, people have worse stuff. They're like, no, you know, which I get. But at the same time, I'm like, if I can't get up in the morning and be in a decent mood because I'm fucked up about a breakup, how am I going to sit here in a position and tell people that you can do it? You can't. I can't. And my life has been so blessed. I've lived my whole life in fucking easy mode. Yeah. I still am. And so, yeah. I'm going to keep creating content, obviously. But I think it's been really pivotal these past couple days to just think about, because it's like, yeah, and I'm like, people go through way worse shit than what I'm going through, and it has me bedridden. And I'm like, well, who am I to talk?
It's a tough balance to strike, though, because I totally get where you're coming from, for sure. I'm like, dude, like, yeah, there's people out there with, oh my God, like, what, like, if we were in those spots, yeah, we would not be the same, for sure. But there's also, I mean, the message I was sending you earlier, like, our society rewards victimization.
This is so
because, like, the problems we're dealing with right now, well, a lot of our problems are good problems, right? Or for me, like, you know, different for you, right? Yeah. But if those people who get pissed off that they had to wait in line for long, or that their roommates being a little bit weird around them, or like their mom said something to them the wrong way, or an exchange went bad, you know, something very, very, very small that should not be interpreted that way. Those kind of people you gotta be hard on. You know what I mean? Because, like, the only thing that's gonna get to them is that kind of hard, you should truth, right? Because when they hear that, like, oh fuck, like, yeah, like, let me, like, exactly with what, it's kind of like a paradox, because, like, you realize that through going through that own experience yourself, and that put you in check, right? Yeah. But those people also in their life that are where they're just being treated as a victim, and they don't have to take any active change in their life, and no one in their life is saying that they have to take active change, because everything is being accommodated for based on their needs, based on their issues, based on whatever, that a video like yours can come up and wake them up. And so it's definitely a tough balance to strike, and I get it. It's not black and white. I think it just depends on the message you're trying to send. But ultimately at the end of the day, I think I could be wrong about this, but if I had to guess, I believe there's a lot more people going through that whole victimization mentality, at least from where we are, right? Versus people that have gone through really, really bad shit, right?
Totally on the same
yeah,
page.
But I could be wrong about that. Depends on where you are.
I fucking doubt it. I'm with you on that.
But so I think like, it's definitely a balance because like when I know when I see your videos and like I love your boldness, I love your bluntness, I love like how direct you are because it just hits home rather than like when I speak, like I might be a little bit more empathetic, right? And it might not hit the same, right? And so
for the same people,
for the same people, yeah. So it is subjective, but like I think it just depends on what message you're trying to send, and then also just who you're trying to reach, and so
definitely,
yeah.
I think I think the number one thing, I'm taking it to the yin and the yang, because that's my thought process needs to go all the way to the end, so then I can pull it back to the spot where it's optimally balanced. Yeah. But I think that the number one message I'm getting out of this, as from this lesson, is that I'm looking at my content. I don't like it like I used to, and I think the reason why is because I need to reword things in a way where I could still be blunt. I could still be myself. I could still speak in this aggressive, fucking stubborn Italian boy way.
But not as much in absolutes.
But exactly. Yeah. But this is what I have done with my experience rather than this is what you should do to have this life XYZ whatever. Yeah. Because ultimately, especially through these past couple months, I've realized that I don't know shit about what people are going through.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know shit
really don't,
about how they can make their own lives better. Yeah. I know what's worked for me. And I know what's worked for many people based on books, research, studies. But like, again, it's just fucking data. Yeah. It's not a subjective, you're going through it. It's not the Rocky cutscene is 30 seconds long when he's training for the fight. It's not 30 seconds.
It's way deeper.
It's like when the clock is ticking and it's tick, 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 tick. At that point, you've already seen half of the highlight reel of somebody in the grind. You saw a couple reps of them at the gym. You're not there breathless for 2 minutes after they fully exhaust themselves after set 1 of the 2-hour workout of the 5 months that it's going to take for them to make 10% of their progress. Like, your time horizon gets so shortened because you see a clip and you think that that's what is, that's reality. Because you can't help because you're a human being, and that's fine. But it's a lot easier to look at it and be like, Rocky cutscene versus living the Rocky cutscene. Waking up every day and feeling like shit every day. And then you're sitting there, you're like, well, I guess it's not as fucking easy as everyone else made it seem, because it wasn't that they made it seem easier than it actually was. It was that you romanticized it because the clip's 30 seconds long. And that's why I'm like, okay. I really need to start taking the perspective of like, this is what I have done. Oh. With that said, I am preaching to the people that are not sitting there complaining about too much milk in their coffee. Like, again, like if that's you, get fucked. Oh. If you're sitting there and you're standing in line and you're complaining because it's taking a little bit too long, or you're complaining in traffic and you're yelling at somebody on the phone, or you're screaming when you get cut off or whatever, like, my message isn't for you. Like, it's not, because people deal with real shit. And I'm not saying that you haven't dealt with real shit, but if you're going to fucking complain about getting cut off in traffic, it's going to be really hard for me to want to empathize with you when you're actually going through something. It's just the truth. And it's going to be really hard for anybody else to, because they look at you as the complainer. The little girl that cried wolf, the little boy that cried wolf. Because all you do is complain. And so if all you do is complain and you show a complete lack of gratitude for everything that's going on around you, it's really hard to empathize with you, at least from my perspective, when you're talking about something that happened in a relationship that is serious, that is a problem. And that's why I think it's like, when you come to me with something and it's actually a problem, or it's actually an issue, it's way easier for me to empathize with you because you don't come to me with bullshit. My phone is fucking... That's actually kind of how I sound lately, isn't it? But
no, that actually is a problem, though.
That's another...
Maybe that's not a problem you should be freaking out about, but like... considering your whole career relies
I was going to say, I need it for the business.
Sort of.
But yeah, So there are two sides to the coin, obviously, and I'm glad you brought up the other side because it actually is helping me pull back to the middle of the yin and yang. But yeah, just more of this is what I've done, not this is what you should do. So
yeah, but like people are going through tough shit, man. You know, it's like that is, it's like the hidden swan that like it's so easy to forget about because like you said, I think that was a great point. Like the Rocky highlight reel makes so much sense, and because people, it's the analogy everybody knows. It's like you see a fucking jack dude on Instagram and you think everyone in the gym looks that way, or better yet, you think you're gonna look like that in 2 weeks based on Kino bodies, you know.
apple cider vinegar, trust me.
Exactly, right? Like just fucking some bullshit that you see on a YouTube ad and almost fall for it. Like this guy when he almost fucking, I didn't buy the program. It's okay. I have bought programs, not used them at all. But yep, it sucks. But I opened the program, like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do you use this? Like, all right.
Cardio burns fat.
They're like,
wrong.
Become a colossal. Like, what?
Yeah. Like that fucking guy on YouTube, or he has so many ads. You probably know the guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the definition of a fucking fitness scammer.
Oh, yeah.
He's like cardio does not help you lose body fat.
Is he white?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, it doesn't. He's like, you don't know. They don't know anything. It's body type. Like, okay. Go run every day for a month and tell me you're not in better. Whatever. Sorry.
No. I think he's. Oh yeah, G-Shred or something like that.
Something like
V-Shred.
Yeah. Because
oh god,
dude, one of my friends, she goes to Central, and she was like,
I bought this program.
oh no, dude.
And I was like,
Dawn almost bought it.
And I told her, I was like, tell me it's not this fucking guy. She's like, is it this guy? And I'm like, fuck! Like, how is he selling you? This is crazy. I'm like, well, I know how. Because he's selling the fucking pill. That's what he's selling. He's selling the quick fix. News fucking flash, people. There's no quick fix. There is none. There's no way to get in shape overnight. Period. And it's romantic to talk about it.
I don't know what they're going through.
This is true. The way that I've lived my life, I haven't gained muscle overnight. And so I don't think that I could do that. Now,
you just have to speak from some, like,
my subjective experience of fitness.
Take it for what it's worth. Maybe if you want to buy the program,
unless you work out with Matt, then maybe you could put on 20 pounds of muscle.
God.
Just kidding. Even that's bullshit because it's like I just wasn't.
No, you'll probably. I mean, according to Greg Doucette, you'll probably gain 30 to 40 pounds of muscle over your entire weightlifting career. Like that. People. I remember this one kid in high school. He was like, I forget exactly what happened, but he was like, I weighed 155 pounds, or I weighed 135 pounds, and then I bulked up to 155 pounds, but I put on no fat, so it must be all muscle. I'm like. But the dudes gained like maybe like a little bit of muscle, like newbie gains. And I was like, homie, if you were 20 pounds of muscle, you'd be looking like an IFBB pro up there. Not really, literally, but like you'd be fucking swolk to the moon. But like
Swolson. That's what Matt calls me.
Dr. Swolson has entered the podcast room. But yeah, I mean, it's like the whole idea there, like that people will just like look at that highlight reel and just get so. Just think it's so much easier than it actually is. Like, you have no idea how hard this person is training. You have no idea what that person has been through, what they're going through, and what they're going to be like on the other side. And I think it's, in a way, I'm like, I'm not envious, but whenever I see someone that's been through a lot of shit and I see them make it out the other end, I'm like, damn, that's a cool story, right? It's like, it's so inspiring because it makes you want to tell better stories, right? And it's not to say like, oh, I want to fucking be in a tour in Vietnam or something like that. No. It's like no one would ever want to be like that. My brother was telling me, he was like, he's for something in his grad school, he like interviewed someone who was like fucking, oh my God, was like, had been tortured by like the Taliban and like had been on tours. I'm like, bro, that's so cool. Like, and I was like,
no, I get the perspective.
I'm like, damn, bro, like that's fucking awesome. You know, not that he got tortured. The
story.
But like the story is awesome. And it's just keeping, like, it's so hard to really understand or empathize with people who've been through so much. But I think, like you said, if you can just kind of keep that little asterisk in your brain and be mindful of when you're talking to people about an issue or really whatever you're doing, it really does make a huge difference in your response, and then also the way you act towards them.
People can feel that. People can feel that, for sure. I just think, Like, if I can make content that's going to motivate people, great. I hope I do. I really hope I do. But the problem is you look at the 30-second piece of content and think that that's life.
Yeah.
You look at a clip of me talking on TikTok or Instagram or whatever and just assume that, like, that's just what it is. And you're not here for 45 minutes setting it up, for 30 minutes taking everything down and editing for 6 hours and then putting it up and then clipping it up. And it's like all of these fucking moving pieces and all of this time and effort and energy that's going into just putting this one piece of content that goes out that gets fucking 10 likes.
If that.
Like, it's cute to look at it and say that. It is. But then you wake up in the morning and the clock goes tick, tick, and you got shit to do. And you got responsibilities, and you got a family to feed, and you fucking want to hit snooze because you're exhausted from the night before, or whatever. Like, it's hard as shit. I wish there was another way to say it than it's just not that fucking simple.
Yes.
It's never been that simple. But even that sounds too corny and cliche. Like, I wish there was some other way I could word it. There's just not.
You just got to go through it. You just got to experience it.
The Rocky cutscene is just the Rocky cutscene.
Like, what you're going through right now, like, you say you wake up every day, like, feeling like garbage, right? Like, when you say that, I was like I obviously hear you saying that, and I keep it in mind.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it doesn't really affect me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I've never woken up and felt like garbage. Like, nah, literally, dude.
Me
Like,
neither.
like, I've never been through that extent.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really hard for me to be like, damn, like, and really feel that impact. So I totally get it. Like, you know, she's like, fucking even that girl that got hit today, right? By that dude. When I saw it, I was like so desensitized to it. And maybe that's an issue I should look at for sure. But I was like, oh, okay. I mean, she just got her boyfriend just hit her in the face. Like, it's no big deal. Like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. It's different strokes for different folks. And like, you got to kind of build that emotional connection, which is something I should work on, right?
The problem is there's no real way to work on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's just, you got to expose yourself to it to some degree. Like, that's the thing. Like, so many people are disconnected from animals when it comes to veganism, right?
Yeah.
They feel no empathy, right? Like, so you can definitely work on it. It is definitely possible, you know? So, and then when you develop that empathy, you start to understand a lot more of, and you start to care a lot more and make the necessary changes that need to occur. So it's like having that realization, and then obviously talking about it with your other person, with the person that you're going through. Because like when you go into more detail about it, I'm like, fuck, like, okay, yeah, this is fucking serious, you know?
Right.
So